I'm so sorry. Great morning, everyone. What's going on? This is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing. It is Monday morning, last month of the trading month. There's a lot to talk about here as Bitcoin here has pulled back only 16.5% and is now shooting up towards the all-time high. Let's see what happens. Let's watch it together over here. By the way, I am now fully positioned on Bitcoin. plus a little bit more. Could you imagine not being fully positioned on Bitcoin at this point? That would be something that I would be FOMOing about. Let's talk about what happened. Let's talk about the main question to start this off before we get into anything else, before we start looking at the indexes, which, by the way, are just a little bit mixed. Down off a little bit, dollar off a little bit. Gold and silver continuing to get hammered. Bitcoin up 6.2% as we speak. The rest of the alts have been going with it. What's going on? Do we have to now consider that JC asked the question, at what price do we say maybe this time is different for Bitcoin? Right now, I'm asking that question for sure over here. And the reason why is, by the way, if you missed all the tweets I sent out this yesterday, actually, regarding Bitcoin, what's going on, do follow on Twitter over the weekend. Alan, the updates, the afternoon updates are Monday through Thursday afternoon. If I can update on the weekend, I absolutely will. Heath has now been doing a FX update over the weekend. Make sure you're receiving the updates on the broadcast channel. I tried to make sure at such an important critical juncture in Bitcoin, as we were resuming out of the 6.5% pullback, that I gave everyone the exact levels that I was looking for, both to continue to accumulate more Bitcoin, as well as where I would have to flip and go full long. And I'm going to talk about why I did that. And then now, after 19,220, completely full position, plus a little bit more long Bitcoin now. So we're going to look at all of that. And the question that we're going to ask ourselves, is this bull run different? Because ever since the halving, we had 20% pullback coming into the halving, right? By the way, go back to last cycle. That was a 30% pullback going into this particular time. Then over here in September, we had another 20% pullback, 20% pullbacks. I thought the reason that we had a 20% pullback and not a 30% pullback was because of this abnormal 63% drawdown during the crisis. However, we just put in now only a 6.5% drawback. I was looking for the 30% pullback into this beautiful technical area. Could it still happen? Yes. We could still receive a 30% pullback. We could still receive a 30% pullback towards this area over here between 13,500 and 13,800. We're going to look on a bigger picture about that in 1 second. But as we're resuming up here, and if we go on to make a new high, it looks like that we will make an all-time high, right? It looks like that Bitcoin probably will not come back and take out this low. That's something unusual. That's something I need to reconsider right now. I mean, not reconsider. It's happening before my face. And that's the reason I'm fully long Bitcoin right now, is because I don't want to get my face melted off. Is that FOMO? Maybe. But I think the risk is not being fully positioned long Bitcoin over here, especially showing this abnormal price action. Now, probably what happens is that we come out and we do make a new all-time high over here and not go too far and then have a little bit of a pullback. But I don't think that we make a new swing low and then come back up and then we peak out somewhere where we peak out. I still think it's possible during this bull run we have 30% pullbacks. No question about it. I do have to reconsider whether or not the possibility exists that going forward this cycle, because of whatever reason you want to give, let's talk about big money coming in to buy Bitcoin. Let's just call it big money coming in to buy Bitcoin, that maybe we will not have the extent of the pullbacks that I am looking for. You have to have, like I said, everyone has a game plan until you're punched in the face. Mike Tyson said that. All right, well, now what do? Right? What's your new game plan over here? You're going to have to start, if you were looking to start loading up 20, 25, and 30% scaled in, right? And by the way, I want to talk about what happened over here. It's quite an interesting story. What do you do now? Are you on a 10% pullback? Are you starting to accumulate and then 15% more? And then have a contingency plan in case we pull back all the way 30% or more? Got to start figuring this stuff out right now. Is it possible, by the way, that we don't come up and make a new all-time high here this morning? Yeah, that's all entirely possible. Someone said that they see a head and shoulders developing. Don't look for the head and shoulders, right? Is that left shoulder, head, right shoulder? Do not look for that. Only focus on what? The neckline. I don't even see a trend line to put over here for a neckline right now. All right. So right now, before I go any further, and there's a lot that I want to cover and look at. I don't know how many people we got in here this morning. Glad to be here with you this morning. I have not yet started looking at comments. I'm not going to yet. I'm going to keep going over here. I'm going to show you what's going on my mind, and I hope that helps you, formulate your own ideas of what you expect. So over here, instead of having that 30% pullback that I was looking for, we only had a 16.5% pullback. Is that a game changer? Is it, maybe. That's all I can say. I don't know, but I'm prepared if it is. I have no reason just to want to be right. I want to be on the right side of the trade. And if the market is showing us that we're not going to have full 30% pullbacks, well, why I still expect during this bull market phase we will. Right now, I'm fully long, and I'm just adapting to what's going on in the market. Just want to show you a couple of things before we move on over here, because I feel like, again, this is the most important trade. And I think that right now, like yesterday when I put out those updates on Twitter, I think that I want to make sure that for every heartbeat you have here, knowing, how I'm positioning, what I'm doing, what I see, and how I'm acting and adapting. That's what I really want to do. We've got a low volume over here. Let's see if we can fix that up a little bit. Nope. Let's go. All right, there we go. That should help a little bit. All right. So I just want to point out a couple of things. This over here is about a 10% pullback. Okay. We don't have many. This over here is another. I think this one might be a 15%. Let's check it out. This is the biggest pullback. Yeah, it's 15%. That's just what happened right now. This is the biggest pullback without a 30% pullback that I have between the last cycle on these up moves. Now here's another 10%, right? What is this one over here? There are a few 10% pullbacks. That's a 20% pullback. What I'm getting at, and why I went over here this morning and did that, and I went back through all of these over here to see the extent of the pullbacks between 30% pullbacks. After having this 16% pullback that we just had here this morning, generally what happens if price goes on to make a new all-time high is that there's further upside. That's why I don't want to be out of over here. I don't think that we come back and test below here. This might actually be a long-term, this might be the low. I'm prepared for that right now as I'm fully positioned into Bitcoin. This over here going forward, 16,000 could be the last low that we see. Now, Jordan, is it possible that over here something happens, we reverse and take out that low and still have a 30% pullback? Yep. So right now, everything is copacetic unless we take out that level over there. If we take out that level, then you're going to have to reassess how you're positioned and that we might have a deeper pullback. Everybody on the same page here on Big. Oh, I wanted to explain this to you. One other thing. I had a friend, right, who right over here, by the way, and just let me recap what I did. At 18,900, I had taken off 2/9 of my tradable position on Bitcoin looking for that 30% pullback, right? I got a small piece back in somewhere around 16,200, between 16,400. Too small to even talk about. Don't worry about it. I was looking to add more positions much lower, somewhere around 15,500. Again at 14,500, and lastly at 13,950. Those orders never got filled, right? So I over here at 19,220 went back fully positioned, plus a little bit more. So on 2/9 of a position, I took a $300 loss. I've always said that I believe traders will be buying back Bitcoin higher than they sold it during the bull market phase. That happened to me right here. That $300, I think it was a great play. I'll do it again all day long. And I understand I could get whipsawed over here. As I went back in, if we come off over here and lose 16,000, I'm going to have to lighten up a position over here. All right? That's fine. That's what it is. Now, I had a friend, quote unquote, I had a friend over here who took like a nice hedge over here on a leveraged position, back at 18,900. Now, that position was a small hedge, but highly leveraged, therefore making up for the rest of the tradable position. Coming down into here, this looked like one heck of a trade that since reversed and got stopped out. Had this gone down further towards the target over here, that would have been probably one of the best trades of the year. Didn't work out like that, but trading is all about risk management. Trading is all about risk management. You got to be protected, and as long as you're protecting yourself, you could take small, insignificant losses for the bigger picture. All right, let's see. Let's see where you are all at before we start looking at the indexes, which are opening up in about 15 minutes. Let me go ahead and just plug this in over here. All right. So what about volume? I have no idea, Jorge. I don't ever look at volume on any instrument whatsoever. Now, do I consider volume? Yep, I do. How do I consider volume? Well, in FX, I'm only trading when London's open. It's the highest volume of the day. So it's not that I don't consider volume, but I never look at volume in my analysis. It serves me very well. If you look at the equity indexes, let's move over to the equity indexes. If you look at them over here, they've been rising all year on low volume. If I was considering volume, I would not be involved in that. Let's look at the equity markets over here, right? What about Ethereum? Let's go back to Ethereum, and then we'll look at Ethereum, Bitcoin. We'll look at both of those. First, let me take a look at the indexes right now. And there we go. By the way, if you're here this morning, it really helps out me. It really helps out the channel if you go ahead and do smash the like button. Do appreciate that help very much over here. Here we're looking at the S&P 500. It's opening up slightly down this morning. And what else could we see over here? Look, it looks really bullish over here, and it continues to look bullish. All the indexes technically are looking beautiful. Are you going to see any month-end selling today? I don't really ever trade like that. What I'm looking at is what's happening on price. You can see this bull flag that is developed. As long as we're holding above the bottom line support, technically this is all very bullish over here. Let's see. Let's look at the markets until something becomes clear. There's nothing else to say. A lot of people wanted to play this breakout over here. Now that we have consolidated, if we're getting ready to make another leg up, it's time to get involved. Your risk is very well managed over here, because if you take out this last swing low over here, right around 3,600, it's time to get out of that position, targeting new all-time high here on the S&P 500. Similar situation on the Nasdaq, looking to resume out over here. The consolidation on the Nasdaq has been a little different in the fact that it's a rising channel over here. Nevertheless, the Nasdaq was lagging, consolidating a lot longer. Looks very healthy. All the indexes here are confirming themselves. Let's see what we got. Watch that trend line over there on the Dow. And this over here, by the way, we're holding support over here. That's interesting. Be targeting the top line over here of that trend line support. Watch a breakdown over here. On the Russell, this would be the first canary in the coal mine over here. If you broke down against this trend line over here, that would be a small, thin, rising wedge. If we get a breakdown, we could see a quick snap back down. That would be testing probably somewhere all the way down to 1642. But looks very healthy right now as well. All the indexes are looking very well. The dollar, let's check out the DXY. Melting down, new yearly low. Look at that. That's beautiful. That's amazing. Is that contributing over here to the degree of the pullbacks on Bitcoin? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't have the answer to that. Something you have to consider. Is this weaker dollar contributing right now to also at the same time these lessening pullbacks we've seen ever since the halving? 220% pullbacks and now 116.5% pullback, significantly less than last cycle. Something right now to pay attention to. And, here we go. By the way, what are we targeting here on the dollar now? We're targeting 1983 down over here in this area as we make new yearly lows. It's a significant observation. A significant observation is the fact that the dollar is making new yearly lows and gold and silver are still getting punished. Okay, let's look at Ethereum. Let's look at Ethereum, Bitcoin, and then we'll look at gold and silver. So, wow. What else could I say over here? So, wow. Wow. So someone asked, by the way, as we were trading up over here on this candle over here in the Telegram group, what's a good place to lean into Ethereum? I gave out two numbers, 506 and 441. The 506 was hit. I have to be honest. It looked I was pretty confident that we were going to come all the way back towards 441 also, because I thought Bitcoin had another 50% of a pullback within it. I am surprised by the current price action. Nevertheless, I want to be where it is. So, sorry, Kips. By the way, Kips, we missed you on Friday, but we were listening to your autumn track. I think we listened to it twice on Friday. I know you weren't here. You were enjoying your Thanksgiving holiday, but we enjoyed your track. Grateful for it. All right. So anyway, Ethereum coming back up and testing 621. It's coming in hot. It's coming in strong. By the way, Bitcoin also right now is coming up in really strong. I'm going to come back to Ethereum in 1 second. But look at this move over here. We have the entry CCI way overextended into the trend, into the resistance. Be aware of that, right? You're expecting, even if we make a new high over here, all-time high over here, it's a punch, but not too far. You would expect that pullback and then resumption. Same thing with Ethereum. We're coming in way oversold into that resistance over here. Nevertheless, it's like if you take a blown up ball underwater and you push it down underwater, right? What happens, like when you let it go, it just pops up straight out of the water. That's the feeling I have over here. I wouldn't play right now this, as we're coming into here. If we take out this new swing high, I would be looking for that pullback of the entry CCI and then the resumption to look to get into that trade. I would not be looking to get into that trade right now because the risk to reward is not there. I know I did it on Bitcoin, and it's simply because the greatest risk in my mind is not being fully positioned into Bitcoin right now. That would be the FOMO I would be experiencing if Bitcoin went on to make new all-time high and was popping. Something's not right. When I say something's right now, something's different. Oh, Tom, thanks for that shout out. Ethereum has enough to make the jump to 2.0. Enough people staking. That's interesting. So maybe that's why the market is so bullish as well, right? Markets love to go ahead and pump into events like that. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens if it's buy the rumor, sell the news, or we keep going. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. I wasn't aware that was happening tomorrow. That's a big deal. And as we talk about Ethereum, that is something that is really important to be aware of. That's for sure. The other thing was right over here, we have the Australian Central Bank meeting this evening. So far going into the session, the Australian dollar is the weakest currency. That could just be ahead of the rate statement today. We have this week, not too much going on. ISM manufacturing on Tuesday with Powell speaking, non-farm on Friday. The big things this week are the 10th is the ECB, and then on the 16th is the FOMC. That's what we're watching on the calendar ahead of us. All right. So where are we? Let's look at Ethereum, Bitcoin. Let's see what's going on over there. All right. This looks interesting. This, Brandon brought to our attention over here. We looked at it on the channel together, this massive descending wedge. They brought it to our attention right over here, by the way, at the exact time to play it, leaning into the support. It has since fired out of that descending wedge and then come back in for the retest, looking to resume out. It has not yet resumed out, meaning it has not yet made a new swing high. That looks to be where it's headed. So is this the time to take a look at this trade right now? By the way, Brandon, thanks for all of your hard work inside the Telegram group. Brandon adding valuable information almost minutely regarding altcoins, the alt cycle, making sure everyone is positioned well, understanding projects such as Cardano, doing his best to educate everyone on Chainlink, and providing really good analysis as well. Grateful for it. Jordan, do you trade oil? Well, a lot this year. Go back to February and March, traded oil all the way down to 14.50. When oil was in its mid 50s, I was talking about it looking to trade down to 35 this year. And then it went down so quickly, we lowered those projections down into the low 20s. And then when those were hit quicker than expected, lowered it down to 14. And that's where I finally exited the trade for the year. I didn't think we were going to go to zero. Again, it's 2020. Anything that could happen seems to be happening. Be prepared and ready for everything. I think this trade over here right now we do have Ethereum 2.0 launching tomorrow, as Tom definitely brought to my attention, to our attention. That's a big deal. Now, so if something goes wrong, make sure that you have your always have your stop losses and your exits ready, especially if you're trading something and not making a longer term investment here in Ethereum. I think one of the things that Brandon pointed out that was really important, he said right now he's moving on the altcoins from trading against US dollar to trading against Bitcoin, looking to accumulate more Bitcoin at this moment in the cycle versus altcoins, as believing alt season has gotten started and now alt should outperform Bitcoin. Here's the cross, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Technically, it looks set up very nice. Resuming out of here, right? Resuming out of the, look, so everyone knows what we're following. We got the breakout of that descending wedge. Alan so beautifully pointed out. Brandon also gave a look at it. Then the retest, right? And now we're working on resuming out to resume fully out of this descending wedge, resume out of that last swing high. We now have a little pullback over here. We got a big, I don't want to say fundamental, but it is kind of like fundamentals on the blockchain over here for Ethereum with the upgrade tomorrow. So a resumption out of here could be a place to enter from a risk to reward standpoint. Really good place to enter over here. Looking to enter this trade on a resumption, looking to take out this last swing high, and then of course be looking to hold this for, let me pull back a little bit, right? What would you ultimately be targeting over here? That's hard to say, right? I imagine a lot higher than we are right now, though. A lot higher than we are right now. All right, so what else are we looking at over here? I don't really want to talk about Raul Powell. Listen, but there's a big debate that went on this weekend as Raul mentioned that he was interested in some projects like XRP. Now, he kind of like tweeted that like, well, he doesn't really yet know enough about the project. I don't know. There's enough information regarding this area over here that everyone should be able to make a well-informed opinion on what they believe or not. But it seems Raul is leaving room here to invest into XRP. A lot of Bitcoiners take issue with that. And, you know, listen, debate is healthy. Everyone put it out there. Raul's done a great job educating a lot of people that probably he's quick in the adoption and knowledge base of Bitcoin to a lot of people, including probably a lot of family offices. Definitely grateful for that. And not only that, I'm always grateful for conversation. Always grateful for conversation. Everyone can have an opinion, and opinion's important, right? But listen, if someone doesn't agree with your opinion, that doesn't mean that they should be locked out of the conversation whatsoever. You should feel comfortable enough in your own opinions and ideas that you're willing to talk about anything. And nothing's off limits, right? And that includes Ethereum, that includes XRP, right? Now, obviously, the reason that, and you can look at Raul, right? Where his money is. He's heavily invested into Bitcoin. Does that mean he can't speculate in other projects, right? Absolutely not. I'm rooting for the success of the whole crypto sector in general, right? If you want to get down into debates of whether or not Ethereum is decentralized, of course not, right? I mean, you can't really run an Ethereum node. That doesn't mean that Ethereum doesn't serve a purpose, and it doesn't mean that one day it can't be decentralized, right? It's a work in progress. That's why it's highly speculative, right? And that's why there is ample room for speculation here as alt season begins. So, where else are we? Thank you. I every single one of you. You guys are the greatest. Yeah, we're in alt season right now. No question about it. Alt season has begun, and it's just beginning, right? Again, first quarter, we're getting there. We're about, what are we, about 5 weeks away, 4.5 weeks away. First quarter, 2021, things are going to start going crazy. And then throughout the rest of the year, up until the climax of this Bitcoin bull run, all the crypto is going to be doing what it does. Everyone by now should be able to see that very clearly. I understand back in September when we just came out of a crisis, back in September where, everything was a lot iffy and people saw how tightly correlated Bitcoin was to the equity markets, there was a little bit of cause of concern. Now, I stayed strong in my conviction because my conviction comes from understanding. By the way, I sincerely don't know anyone else who has who has leaned into Bitcoin as much as myself. And that came from the more I've understood it, not only understood what Bitcoin is. By the way, if you missed the podcast, and I'm sure many of you saw it, it's, if anyone knows the name of the podcast, please put it in for everyone else. It is We Study Billionaires, Preston. The last podcast on common misconceptions on Bitcoin was probably one of the best podcasts I've ever heard on Bitcoin. If someone has the name, please do share it. Otherwise, I will share it for tomorrow's episode. It is absolutely phenomenal. By the way, you could tell whoever was being interviewed that they were highly influenced in their linguistics by Snowden. By Snowden, and really fantastic. The Investors Podcast. I will bring up so I can share the link with you all next week. Tomorrow, what that was. Yeah. So Raul is selling his gold position to buy more Bitcoin and Ethereum. Look, it wouldn't make sense not to. Let's just put it that way. Right? It wouldn't make sense not to. We all know what happens the next year with Bitcoin and Ethereum. You would look. Now, I'm not selling my physical gold or my physical silver. I've held it for over a decade, and I plan on never selling it. I plan on passing that off to the next generation. I don't need to sell it to buy more Bitcoin. I'm already all in over here. But yeah, I think everyone knows what's going to happen. Why XRP when you said Ethereum 2.0? We were talking about Raul's tweet on XRP. That's all. So what else? You know what? That's fine. Also, Kenneth, that would be great. I would love one day the opportunity to be able. But what's important to me is what we got going on over here. People said, hey, Jordan, if you were to show yourself in the video every morning, you would like double or triple subscribers. That's all fine and good. That's not my intention. I'm not looking to actively grow the channel. I'm looking to share my time with all of you, and whoever's here. That's fantastic. We have a wonderful thing. Oh, I found this video. I'm going to share it with you tonight in the afternoon update. It's the video, the trailer I made for this channel in October of 2019. And you can't believe, I just was basically look, I'm looking for a bunch of people to share, this community with in a positive and supportive environment. I think that we've blown that goal out of the water. That was what I set out to create. We've created that way, it's way greater than I ever imagined. And I'm just grateful for that, So there we go. Where are we and what are we looking for? Let's get into FX. Let's look at gold and silver first, right? So if you're talking about Raul selling his gold and silver position to buy into Bitcoin, look, I can't imagine anyone understanding Bitcoin at this point would be looking to bet on anything else besides Bitcoin. That's my opinion. That's what I see. And like I said, the more I understood the trade, the more I leaned into it, right? The more I understood the trade, the more I focused on, making sure that it had the focus it warranted. And there we are. So, one other thing I wanted to say, one other thing, thank you all. It's just the community, and I absolutely love the community, and I'm grateful for it. And, that's Roman. Roman has been around here forever. Roman, Roman, you've been around here since, when I say forever, I mean, right, you were one of the original founding members of this channel going back a year ago. I don't know exactly when, but I just want to say thank you for always having that presence here. I take note of everything, and it all adds up to this beautiful melody, and I'm grateful for all of you. Thank you. Just wondering why you didn't buy in June. I have no idea. Oh, just talking. Sorry about that. I thought you were talking to me. I didn't even know since February. Wow. Roman, right on time. Right on time. That going, not navigating that crisis together. Roman has in his mind seeing what happened. That is beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, it is. The Investors Podcast, We Study Billionaires. I listened to that podcast yesterday. I'm going to listen to it again today. I absolutely highly recommend it. All right. So, Preston, fantastic follow on Twitter. Fantastic podcast. They're going to start putting out regular content on Bitcoin. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much for saying that. All right, let's look at gold. All right, look at gold here on the 3-day first. You know, I'm not trying to pick a bottom, by the way. All right, I'm not trying to pick a bottom. At the same time, I'm going to be looking for where is the time to possibly step in here on gold. All right, so my whole thing when it comes to gold, and I'm just telling you all right now, that as I exit the Bitcoin trade, the possibility exists that I'm under the impression that gold's going to be trading much higher next year. I'm also under the impression that eventually, as we're looking at this system reset, now whether or not it's going to be the Great Reset. By the way, if you're listening right now, please let me know. Someone asked after me mentioning the Great Reset last Thursday or Friday that they would like for me to kind of do a video and share my thoughts on what's happening. I could probably do that, in like a 5-10 minute video. And I think that would be really important for us. Coming out of the World Economic Forum, there's this push by 2030 for the Great Reset. You have a lot of people throughout the world, like the Prime Minister of Canada, really supportive of it. And basically, by then, like anyone who has any debt that would be given to the IMF in exchange for it being written off, and then you would not own anything and just be paying rent and be happy ever after with zero privacy. It's just what they're trying to do. So I think it's really important just to have some type of understanding of what that is. Not only that, thank you, Jeffrey. Just my perspective, by the way. Just what I see doesn't mean it's the truth, but it's what I see. It's what's influencing me and my opinions. I think right now is the time to talk to those that we love in the world and just throw out there what the Great Reset is. If you let them know that right now, the Davos crowd, those elite that meet in Davos right now are floating out this idea through the World Economic Forum that they want to have the Great Reset by 2030, changing the whole system. And I'll explain what that means, changing the whole system in the video. And they want to say that you're going to own nothing, have no privacy, and be happier than ever. Every single quote-unquote normal person, I think at this point in time, will object to that. And I think now's the time to discuss that with them and inform them so that they firm up their position now, because otherwise they're going to be heavily manipulated and they're going to be calling for the Great Reset. They're going to be the ones actually calling for it, and it'll be too late. So I think now's the time to really be informed, and now's the time to have that conversation with other people, why they still would be able to make a clear decision in their mind that they know that they don't like that. Otherwise, they're going to be manipulated. All right. So is that anti-Great Reset? No. Let's call that, Rob, instead of anti-Great Reset, let's just call this, pro-freedom. So let's see what else is going on. Bitcoin pushing for new all-time highs right now, right? It's got a lot of momentum. By the way, I think that it's possible something like, everyone's familiar, I don't mean to keep pulling up the last cycle, but you have to study the cycle ahead of us. It's really served us well as being that guide, that chirper, right? So what I'm looking for over here, if we make the new all-time high over here, is something like this actually, right? And so it's so funny. Like, I know exactly what's happening over here, but if you're looking at this, you probably don't, right? So let me remove this for you really quick, just to give you a bit of a view. And what happened was we had a 30% pullback. We made a new all-time high on Bitcoin, and then we had another 30% pullback, right? So what I'm looking to happen, and we didn't look over here, because remember I said it's 16,000. I don't think we'll make a lower low than that. I'm not saying it can't happen. I don't think it's going to happen at this point in time, right? So what does that mean? What I'm expecting here is us to make a higher high. I'm expecting us to make a higher high over here and then pull back. Probably again, it'll probably be only somewhere around 15%. All right. That's what I'm looking for. How high will that higher high be? It could be like another 20% up we go. You know, that's jet. Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. I need to put back my chart. There we go. Hold on. All right. Well, I'm missing my 30% pullback. I know it's there. I like to keep my, by the way, one other thing to point out, a lot of people have exact pullbacks between here and here, here and here. This is 28.4. You know, it's 30% pullback, 30% pullback. This one's a 40% pullback. You know, that's how I do it, right? And I have it serves me well. All right, where else are we at? What are your thoughts on? So let's take a look at that really quick before we do. Let me pull up the CME chart of Bitcoin. The question is, and it's a great question this morning, what are my thoughts on the gap that we had this weekend? It was a big gap that we had this weekend, right? Look, here's where we closed on Friday at 17,000. We opened up over here at 18,280. That's a big gap over there. Now I want to bring it back to over here. All right, let me look at this other gap. Now, listen, I'm only sharing what Jordan goes on in Jordan's mind and what Jordan believes to be true. It doesn't mean that it's true. This is just my opinions, right? So, you know, consult a professional. This was a big gap over here on Bitcoin. You could see it over here. Look, that was a gap from 1996 all the way up to, it was a $300 gap. I thought it was a bigger gap. The gap we just put in is enormous in comparison. In my opinion, we never closed this gap. What do I mean by that? We never closed this gap. Here's the gap. The gap is over here at 9,600. You could see this line over here, this green line. We gapped up to 99 and then ran and came back and tested that gap. But we only came back to the open. We never came back to the close on Friday. That would have been closing the gap. So we never closed this gap. And guess what? We never will. Right? Outside of a what? Anomaly. Was the move in Bitcoin in March of 2020 an anomaly? Yes. This was the model breaking to the downside. It happened during that liquidity crisis. Had we never had a liquidity crisis, had BitMEX never got stuck in a liquidity loop, I don't think we ever would have came down over here as it happened. The model broke to the downside. I've talked about, I think the model will also break to the upside, right? It could have break to the downside again. Yep. Is it possible that we close this gap one day? Yep. Do I think it'll ever happen? Nope. What about this gap over here? Is it possible that this gap over here never closes? Or is it possible that it closes this week? Of course, both those things are entirely possible. There is a gap over here, though. Let's draw this in like this and like this, so we know where the gap is, right? Is it possible that we're rejected over here, come down and close this gap? Of course, be ready for it. Is it possible this gap never closes? Look, yes. I don't know that that's going to happen. Here's what I think is going to happen, all right? So everyone clear on this gap over here? Do we, it's in play. It could close. It might not. We've had past experiences of gaps not closing. And by the way, I always said, I don't think this gap ever closes. It could have. I don't think it ever closes, right? Let's come over here. Here's what I think happens. I think that we come up somewhere around 20%, right? That could take us somewhere around, more or less, Bitcoin 22,000. And then we could have a 15% pullback. Someone do the math. Let us know where that takes us. Do we close the gap or not? Let me try to come as close as I can to doing that for you. I don't think so. That would not, I don't know what the math is, but I'll tell you what, If we go trade to 22,000 and have a 15% pullback, we're nowhere near to closing that gap. So don't try to play closing the gaps on Bitcoin. That could be dangerous. Where else are we at? Let's move over to WTI. Look, it's the most important trade, and not only is the most important trade right now is the time where everyone needs to know what's going on. Let's take a look at WTI, right? Looks super healthy over here. Like the indexes, like the equity indexes, same exact thing going on over there. Nice consolidation after clearing and clearing above that resistance over here at 44.92. Oil looks super healthy. What else could I say? Should I have traded it, being I saw what was happening so clearly? Look, it's just not worth my focus. That's all I could say, right? What happens next? Let's look at that question and answer that question, right? So what I think is going to happen, a resumption out of this bull flag, that could take us back towards 49.50. That's the next level to watch out for. It's a decent resistance. It looks like we're targeting it. Something to bring to mind. I wish I would have done a video on it. It's probably, it'll be really helpful. And I guess starting sometime around the end of January, I'll be in a much better position to be even spending more time with you all. I try to spend as much time as possible. No question about that. We'll look at gold and silver in 1 second, right? Everyone should, LBJ, go back and watch the beginning of this video. The whole video is about all of this, right? So what I wanted to say was, I was reading this article. It was really important. It was talking about, we all know that the Treasury was sitting on $1.3 trillion. It's now $1.6 trillion. That money needs to be spent by a certain time. It looks like that next year, as the Fed continues its pace of purchases, it's on pace for what? $1.4 trillion in 2021. We'll look at the monthly purchases at some point in the future. But the Fed is meeting on the 16th, and it looks like they're saying they're going to expand that duration. So the Fed is looking to continue to after this massive amount of increase of their balance sheet, looking to continue that pace. The Fed, the Treasury, the U.S. Treasury is getting ready to go ahead and include that much money in a shorter time frame. So the amount of money, the lot of liquidity that we're going to see next year in 2022 is on pace for what happened in 2021. That's why we're seeing equity markets bid. That's why we're seeing oil bid. That's why we're seeing housing prices go through the roof. And that's why we have a situation where Bitcoin could break to the upside, the model, what we're experiencing over here. All right. So again, I do think that it would be very important for me when I come across things that I believe are that important to pass on to you, things that go into my brain, and it's like one of the main files I'm pulling apart as I make upon, put this whole grand macro puzzle together that I should be sharing with you. I'll try to include those in some small videos. Bitcoin over here, trading up here at new highs. If it's an all-time high, I'm not sure, but I'm looking for higher prices. So I'm not really gonna. There's always Kips rig count gone up. Interesting industry FOMO. It is what it is. So listen, and when I say it is what it is, housing doesn't make any sense. The price of oil doesn't make any sense. I guess the price of equities make a lot of sense when you just think about the U.S. has just increased the supply of dollars by 20% these past 6 months in March of 2020, right? So it's not like these prices are going up so much as the dollar is being devalued, right? Jordan, inflation, deflation, blah, 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 blah. Listen, the Fed is printing QE's asset inflationary, right? This is what we're in. So this is what doesn't make sense, is precious metals. How come precious metals are sinking over here? I don't know. It's really weird to me to see the dollar under pressure, to see all these other assets on fire over here, and gold and silver right now dumping. I think it's a huge buying opportunity. When we talk about this great reset, something's going to happen, whether or not it's going to be the version that Klaus would like us to have, or whether it's some other version that Bitcoiners would like us to have, where we have this parallel system that's in place, it's better, it's just, it's fair, and that we're able to make this leap off this broken system to this new system, or whether it's this other combination where like it's more like Bretton Woods, where like the system doesn't work and those holding the gold, by the way, China, Russia have been spending the last several years accumulating gold for a reason. They're very smart, right? We got China playing Go. We got the Russians playing chess, right? Why they accumulate? There's gold at one point is going to be repriced. Do I see 3,000 gold? I think that's highly conservative. Do I see something like 5,000 gold? For sure. I forget, is Jim Rickards more correct, or Max Kaiser when they say $10,000 gold price? I think that's where we're headed. I think it's going to happen at some point, within the next decade. I can't put a time frame on that. So when you see gold right now at $1,700, I think it's on a fire sale. Now, that being said, should you be positioned into gold right now? Should you be positioned into silver right now, or Bitcoin? And it's clear that Bitcoin is the trade. And if you're interested in gold and silver at these prices, just as you position out of Bitcoin, whatever the price is of the precious metals at that time, just go ahead and then flow a little bit into the precious metals. That's the way to accumulate the most gold or silver, in my opinion. Buying gold or silver right now, even leverage, doesn't make any sense. All right. So will central bank digital currencies threaten Bitcoin and its value? Facebook, by the way, is launching Libra in January, I believe. It looks like it'll be January. It'll be early 2021. They're launching it pegged just to the dollar, not as a basket of currencies yet. Right? They dropped the ball. Silicon Valley is known for you just go ahead and before you're ready, you launch. That's how it works, right? You build, like Uber didn't ask permission from all the taxi unions before go ahead and launching. No, Uber launched and then dealt with everything. Facebook should have already launched Libra. They should have launched it as the basket of currencies. Nevertheless, what's happening is you can bring Mark Zuckerberg ahead before the Senate. You could have him testify. You could tell him to stop it, and he can't do it. They're launching it another stable coin, and that's what it'll be. That's going to be a massive on-ramp to Bitcoin. Libra, when launched on Facebook, is going to be a massive. My mom will now be able to buy Bitcoin through Facebook because my mom's on Facebook, right? So, it's going to open up, just as PayPal did, a massive new group of people. Yeah, but Jordan, you can't withdraw your Bitcoin from PayPal. Yep, maybe one day you can, but right now you could play it. You could play Bitcoin within PayPal and Facebook Lira and the central bank digital currencies. They're not competing versus Bitcoin, right? They can't compete versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin is sound money. Those are just, resembles fiat currencies that are digital. So it's going to be just a bigger on-ramp onto Bitcoin. No one should have any problem knowing which brokers to use. There are so many brokers. By the way, you should use more than one broker. You have multiple on-ramps and off-ramps. And now is the time before the top of the bull market to have all those things situated. Whether or not you use something like Kraken, Gemini, Coinbase Pro, or whatever you're using, there are multiple options. You could just do a quick search to know which one you will be doing. All right, let's go. So we got Bitcoin over here. Beautiful to see right over there. And look, it's a momentum play. I don't really like having to flip back from, back at 19,220 to fully long Bitcoin, but the risk was not being long Bitcoin, and there we are. I don't have any thoughts about Hashgraph, and look, here's the thing: it could be superior. I don't think or know that it is, but even if it were superior technology to Bitcoin, that's not what makes Bitcoin Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. Watch the Billionaires podcast. Watch the common misconceptions about Bitcoin. It is fire. It is so well articulated. What's amazing now is that your uncle, your cousin, your best friend could learn about Bitcoin for the first time, and in a matter of months have as much knowledge or more than you do. You know, years ago, it just took so much time and research, and now people are able to go ahead and get everyone caught up to speed on the conversation a lot quicker, whether you're talking about Michael Saylor and everything that he has presented coming from his standpoint as the CEO of a public company, helping other public companies, whether or not it's the guide that Square has introduced so other boards could go ahead and see how they were able to go ahead and start purchasing Bitcoin as a reserve currency asset, or these podcasts that we have to listen to. It's amazing. So even if it were superior technology, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin is Bitcoin for it's why it's Bitcoin. Well, that's what else. I looked at FX this morning and I saw that everything was kind of unchanged. With that in mind, yeah, Bitcoin's up 8% on the day. It's crashing. Bitcoin is up 8% and it's crashing. So I kind of missed out on all the altcoins in the fact that I was like, listen, I'm going to wait for them to reset and then we'll get ready to start doing more TA to get people in. The only person that got in was whoever, at 506 had waiting orders at Ethereum. And now we're back overbought. So I'm going to hold off on that and we'll start getting into that later in the week, right? John, yes, but not in this episode. Not in this episode, but yes, we'll start looking at altcoins when they're tradable. I don't think anyone should FOMO into an altcoin right now today. So we're not going to do that. Well, they did, they did it and they didn't. I thought the pullback was going to be further on Bitcoin. I thought the pullback was going to be further on altcoins. That's massive. That's massive for all of you. So another childhood best friend of mine was talking to me that, has a position in Bitcoin finally. It took a whole cycle to get him into that core position in Bitcoin. Has a huge position in Litecoin and a huge position in XLM, and wanted to sell the XLM for more Litecoin. I was like, look, altcoins, they're all speculative. Don't sell one position for the other. A basket is better. Try to play them throughout the top of this cycle as we exit Bitcoin, exit those altcoins, then get neutral, waiting to buy back in at Bitcoin 15 months before the next halving. Whatever altcoin you're in, that's what we're looking, but we'll start looking at trading them a lot more, just not today. Only 650 likes. Guess what? It's Monday, and the session, I believe, is super valuable for myself. I'm grateful for it. Thanks for spending this time with me. I want to take a long look at FX now and just make sure that I'm in the feel. And the most time this morning was spent on Bitcoin only because it's the most important at this point in time. That's all. That's a good question over here. Jordan, would you think the 3 different options on how to trade this bull market might have changed, seeing the pullback seem to be thinner? Daniel, yes, but that's what I spent the whole beginning of this show talking about, and the fact that, listen, maybe we need to adapt. I have to, at this point in time, now consider the fact that it's possible we don't receive 30% pullbacks during this bull market phase. Now, I still think we do. However, I have to rearrange my whole perception and strategy in case we don't. And that's something everyone needs to do. I presented a lot of information on that this morning at the start of the show, so I don't really think that I should add on it, but I probably should do, because unless you're watching the videos every day, unless you're able, have the privilege, and because time is a privilege, not everyone has the opportunity to be able to listen to our live streams every day. I think that a video on the playlist, just giving a quick summary and update of what is happening over here and how we possibly have to adjust would be appropriate and very important. All right. Yeah. We're in it together. We're in it to win. That means that you have to be able to adjust. That's all. So what else? Let's look at FX a little bit. Let me get an idea of what's going on. Let me clean up. If anyone has, let me take a sip of water over here. as we've been going hot over here now for just about 1 hour. For 1 hour exactly, just a sip of water, wet the lips, get a new flow going, and keep going. All right. Do I think Bitcoin is selling off up 7.5% over here after making new all-time highs? Nope, I don't think so. I'm not even sure if it made new all-time highs. It's right around it. That doesn't really matter. Water? What did he say? By the way, listen, if you're listening now, 2 things. I'm going to try to include this afternoon the update. It's like 30 seconds or 15 seconds of me talking about what I was looking to create in October of 2019. Watch to see if you can see in the video where I have the matcha tea in the background. It's always about matcha tea. So this morning's been a coffee, a blue bottle morning, and a Stumpton. But we'll rate it, right? Matcha is better, no question about it. But water, life juice, is also some good stuff, right? So that's funny. All right, let's take a look. We got the Australian dollar, the weakest currency today. Canadian dollar, the strongest going into the New York session. We have on the calendar tonight. We have the Australian Central Bank rate statement. Okay, so the Australian dollar is kind of in play. Is it selling off going into that? Maybe. Oh, for somehow, if you see the matcha tea in the background in the afternoon video, smash the like button. There are a few times in the afternoon when I ask you all to please or remind you all to smash the like button. I have to really just let you know it enormously helps those videos. When I ask you to, there are listen, I'm not really a YouTuber, right? I'm a trader. I'm an investor. I'm just Jordan, right? But if you ask people to like the video, it helps that video get seen by a lot more people. So I'm just asking you that in advance because I don't like to ask you every video. Or know that you are helping me whenever you do that. So Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, right? We have the Australian dollar off. I'm looking at price right now. It's kind of testing this area of local support. It's a nice area, but I don't really see an edge here. So I'm going to keep going, right? Australian dollar, Swiss franc. It looks like this balloon. This area of resistance over here is pretty substantial. If we're able to break above it, and the catalyst could be the meeting tonight, I really think that we can start making a new leg up on this. Let me look at from the 3-day perspective. Look at this level that we're trying to take out over here, right? You see the pressure building up, and guess what? We continue to be risk on. So, don't fight the trend, flow with the current. This looks like it could be setting up over here. Australian dollar, Japanese yen looks very beautiful, resuming out over here right now. This looks like a time to really, if you're interested in the trade, to look out for an entry over here. It could happen before the close of London over here. Set up, resuming, looking to resume right off of this broken trend line resistance. Now looking to be support from a risk to reward standpoint. This is a nice looking entry over here. Something for me to even consider as soon as I get off with all of you. What else? Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. If it doesn't look like pretty for me, if it doesn't look interesting, I'm just going to move aside right now. We've been going strong for an hour, and just to keep the flow going. Australian dollar, US dollar. This is a big breakout of this resistance over here. Now it looks like the indexes, it looks like it's getting ready to resume off. We see that risk on, but the Australian dollar, Japanese yen looks like a better opportunity in my opinion. Here, the Canadian dollar, the weakest pair. And the strongest pair today, really having its way. Look at this beauty, because technical analysis is beautiful. That's why I love it. It's a beautiful expression of art. It really is. If you talk to an artist, like a traditional artist, they'll be like, oh, it's not art. I beg to differ. This is a way to express yourself. It's definitely art. You could see that breakout above the resistance, the retest now resuming up. conquering the markets all day long. I wasn't focused over here. Nevertheless, it's still beautiful, right? So Swiss franc, Japanese yen. Thank you, Rob. That's to the heart, brother. Thank you. Appreciate that very much, because I love my TA. You know, I love the way I express my art there. Swiss franc, Japanese yen, moving right along. Euro Australian dollar, so far holding that support. This is the Euro Australian dollar. So watch out over here. We're holding that support over here, right? Australian dollar is weak today, but we're still in that box. You know, a breakdown over here or a breakout to the upside will get me interested. Euro, Canadian dollar, we'll look at the Canadian dollar being the strongest. Look at this, is also beautiful. This is beautiful only because look at the resistance, our trend line resistance, our horizontal resistance. We've come into the resistance and are resuming off of it in the downtrend. So look, there's always opportunity. This is a beautiful example right over here, conquering the markets all day long. Swiss franc, Euro, Swiss franc. Wow. Wow. So I'm pausing, appreciating what's going on over here, right? We tried to break down. It never happened. We got back in and now are coming up above this area. But it's not something I want to get involved in. This, what about, look over here, everyone. This is, Euro, British pound over here. Definitely looks like it's inviting. Look at this long trend line over here, right? We've broken out now above it. A resumption off of here. This definitely brings into a trade that is worth taking. The markets are actually setting up. I like them for the first time in 3 weeks. FX, oil. We looked at it earlier in the session. You could pull back on until you see WTI in the middle of the screen over there. Look, all I could say is that it's not, I don't even want to add anything else about it right now. We already looked at it. Yep, some great FX pairs. Let's continue looking around over here. Euro, Japanese yen. All right. Is this into some resistance over here? I mean, it is into some resistance. I'm going to pull this one down. Let's take a look. We'll just watch it. Obviously not looking to buy it over here as it's into resistance. All right. I'm losing my flow. Let's keep it going. Euro, New Zealand dollar. Nothing. Euro, US dollar. Look at this over here. Now, this is very overbought into that resistance. Do you remember when we added this trend line over here? And I said, look, that's what we'd be targeting up there is resistance. Here we are into it right now. Very overbought into it. Expecting a pullback, but a break above here. A break above that horizontal resistance. A break out of that trend line. That brings up, because the dollar, the DXY, can melt down now as it's making new yearly lows. Watch for a trade above this area over here. That would be a place that I would be looking to take advantage of that technical break and momentum. However, right now you're into that resistance. You're not looking to buy into resistance. You need the break, retest, resumption, but that could very much be in play now going forward. So 3 setups so far that I like. I'm hoping Heath, and he's going to do his own, but I'm hoping every day Heath in the afternoon goes ahead and does a summary video showing the pairs that we have green flagged. Here we got 3 nice trades so far as we're halfway through FX. I'm going to keep going over here. Pound Australian dollar still in that blue zone, so there's nothing else to see over there, right? This is interesting. We've failed this breakout now twice, right? Taking out stop losses now over here, and back below this area, the pound is weakening. The pound is weakening. All right, so that's something to take note of. Pound Japanese yen. Interesting that the Australian dollar Japanese yen looks like the best one over here above that that trend line break over here. Everything else on the yen looks like they're into resistance. When I look at the Euro Japanese yen, I'm into resistance. When I look at the pound Japanese yen, I'm into resistance. The Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, though, that has just broken above. Interesting. Just kind of trying to put it all together. That's what we do. That's absolutely correct. All right. Let's check out the pound US dollar. This is interesting. You got the weak dollar today. Pound US dollar flirting with a breakdown over here as we come into the Brexit final deadline over here. Unless they extend it, I'll be really not happy if they do. The people voted a couple of years ago, or a few years ago now, to leave. Watch for a breakdown over here. I'm watching for a breakdown at least. See what happens. I'm trying to pull this up over here. Right? If we get a breakdown, sorry about that. Watch if we resume down and break down over here. That would be an interesting play. But right now, with the weak dollar, have gotten back up into that. It looks fragile. So I'm seeing a fragile pound, right? New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. You're seeing the Australian dollar, Swiss franc, and New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc looking like they're getting ready for a new leg up. New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen. New Zealand dollar continuing to lead over here. This is an interesting level now on the New Zealand dollar, breaking above this area of resistance like we are right now, and then firming that in. That looks like something to continue to watching as the momentum is there with it. I want to check out the US dollar, Canadian dollar. That would be next. New Zealand dollar, US dollar, also something to watch. But again, even though the dollar is weak here, to me, it looks like the Japanese yen is still the weaker. And the New Zealand dollar, US dollar, Canadian dollar. We have here that strong Canadian dollar, as Kip's pointed out, with the strong oil coming down to an area against the dollar. Notice that the DXY is breaking down to new yearly lows. But the US dollar, Canadian dollar here, with the Canadian dollar even the strongest, is just barely by a tick making a new low over here, not testing it down. So I guess I should check out the US dollar, Japanese yen. And that's coming into an area of resistance right now. I guess there's something to watch over here. But it's not where I want to put my money. Watching that. A rejection over here, taking out that trend line, that could actually add to a new move. But I don't see it. Not too much clarity there. Not too much clarity. Some stuff going on. Bitcoin crashing. All right. So where are we? Oh, we didn't look at them. Let me see what's going on over here. Interesting to note. All right. Palladium basically unchanged on the day as gold and silver are getting wrecked. The alternative metals, I call them, holding up really well. Nickel almost unchanged on the day. Looking really healthy here as well. And actually we have platinum up on the day, looking ready. It's testing this resistance over here. But looking ready perhaps to break out to the upside. Interesting rotation. That's all. Let me go ahead and just appreciate the beauty here of Bitcoin making new all-time highs, because that's a beautiful thing. I don't think so. I do think that's going to happen one day. So what my own opinion is that at the top of this, and obviously I have to change whatever the market's telling me, right? I'm open to the fact that it's possible. Well, I still think that we'll have a 30% pullbacks during this bull market phase. Now the market is showing me that we had two 20% pullbacks since the halving and 116.5. The pullbacks have been lessening. Now it's 3. That's a big deal. Is it possible one day Bitcoin breaks the model and doesn't come back down? I think that we're going to have the next bear market, 80-85% drawdown. And then after that, as Bitcoin is able to go ahead and actually overtake the market cap of gold, it will be possible in the future that the cycles would change in Bitcoin. I don't think that's happening now or anything like that. Kips, you better be in Bitcoin with us though, Kips. You better be riding this wave with us. That's all I have to say. I don't like. I understand Benjamin's lengthening cycle theory, and I don't think it's true or like it. I think it's dangerous. The same thing when we talk about like. Anyway, I don't think so. I don't think so. I considered it and I looked into it and I stand by the 4-year cycle. I don't think he's right. I think that when is he proven wrong? That's what I would like to know. All right, Kips, good. Want to make sure we share in that joy. A little's good, right? A little's good. And by the way, a little is good. And if you're able to ride out this cycle, exit accordingly, and then reaccumulate Bitcoin 15 months before the next halving and do it again, no matter where you're starting at right now, so long as, for me, it was really just the more I was convinced, the more I understood, the more that I obviously allocated capital towards that trade. There's still so much time. Anyone listening right now is early to Bitcoin and what we're going to be doing over here over the next 5-10 years. So there we go. Resistance on what? Bitcoin is still cheap. All right, everyone. We got a lot covered today. It was a good session. We're going to go ahead, play some tunes over here together. Thank you. Thank you for the time together. Thank you for the session. Looking forward to this afternoon's update. If you're here now, as you see the afternoon update, show me some love, smash that like button, because you're going to love the little clip I share with you. You're really going to appreciate it. All right, everybody. Have a truly beautiful day. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you later.